I stood in the empty banquet hall, staring at 250 unused chairs while my phone buzzed with photos from Paris. My entire family was there. My parents, my sister Emma, my aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone except me. 6 months I had spent planning Emma's Sweet 16 party. 6 months of vendor meetings, menu tastings, decoration trials, and they were in Paris. We just wanted to keep you busy. Dad's text read, followed by a laughing emoji. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just smiled and started making calls. The grand Riverside Hotel ballroom stretched before me like a monument to my stupidity. Crystal chandeliers hung from the vaulted ceiling, casting soft light across tables draped in blush pink linens. Emma's favorite color. Or so she had told me 6 months ago when this whole nightmare began. Vendors were arriving for final setup. The florist wheeled in arrangements of white roses and peonies. The balloon artist carried in boxes of metallic gold balloons. The DJ was setting up his equipment in the corner. They all looked at me with confusion when I told them to stop. I had taken 3 weeks off from my marketing job at Anderson & Associates to dedicate myself fully to this party. My boss, Jennifer, had been supportive, saying I could use my vacation days however I wanted. I had worked late nights and weekends for months to get ahead on my projects so I could take this time off guilt-free. Now I stood here, 28 years old, feeling like the world's biggest fool. It had started 6 months ago on a Sunday afternoon. I had driven to my parents' house in suburban Sacramento for our usual family dinner. Mom made pot roast. Dad complained about the news. Emma scrolled through her phone, barely acknowledging anyone's existence. Normal. Then Mom said, "Holly, we need to ask you something." I looked up from my mashed potatoes. "What's up?" "Emma's Sweet 16 is coming up in 6 months," Dad said. "We want to throw her a really special party." Emma glanced up from her phone just long enough to shrug. "Whatever. We were hoping you could plan it," Mom continued. "Since you're so good at organizing things, you planned that company retreat last year that everyone loved. You have such a gift for this kind of thing." I should have said no. I should have seen the red flags. But I was flattered. My parents rarely acknowledged my professional skills. They had always been dismissive of my marketing career, suggesting I should have been a teacher or a nurse instead. Something more traditionally feminine and safe. "I'd be happy to help," I said. "What kind of budget are we working with?" Dad waved his hand. "Don't worry about that right now. Just plan something amazing. Emma deserves the best." Emma barely glanced up. "Thanks, I guess." That should have been my first clue. Emma had always been indifferent to me. Not mean, exactly. Just distant. Like I was a distant relative she tolerated at holidays rather than her older sister. But I told myself this could be a bonding opportunity. I could show her I cared. I could be the cool older sister who made her days special. So I threw myself into it. I interviewed 12 different caterers, sitting through tastings of chicken marsala, beef Wellington, and vegetarian pasta options. I visited 9 venues before settling on the Grand Riverside Hotel, which had a gorgeous ballroom with views of the Sacramento River. I designed custom invitations with gold foil lettering. I met with a DJ who specialized in teen parties. I found a photographer whose portfolio made every event look like a fairy tale. I spent hours with a florist selecting the perfect arrangements. I even hired a balloon artist who created stunning installations for celebrity events. I used my connections in marketing to negotiate better rates. I leveraged relationships with vendors I had worked with for corporate events. I got us deals that saved thousands of dollars. Every weekend for 6 months, I drove to venues, met with vendors, reviewed contracts, and coordinated details. I created spreadsheets tracking every element. I made timelines. I confirmed and reconfirmed every detail. Emma came to exactly 2 planning meetings. At the first one, she picked the blush pink color scheme while texting. At the second, she approved the menu without tasting anything. "Whatever you think is good," she said, eyes glued to her phone. My parents came to a few more meetings but always seemed distracted. When I asked questions about budget, they told me not to worry. When I showed them invoices, they nodded absently. When I requested their credit card for deposits, they hesitated. "Actually, could you cover the deposits?" Mom asked. "Well, reimburse you later. We're just having some cash flow issues right now." I should have questioned that. My parents lived in a 4-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood. Dad worked as a sales manager at a car dealership. Mom was a real estate agent. They should have had money for their daughter's birthday party, but I didn't want to seem cheap or unsupportive. So I paid the deposits, $8,000 from my carefully maintained savings account. I told myself they would pay me back. The party was supposed to be today, Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, 200 guests, a sit-down dinner, a DJ, dancing, a photo booth, a dessert bar with a custom 3-tier cake, everything a 16-year-old girl could want. I had gone to pick up Emma this morning at 9 to help her get ready. I had an appointment scheduled with a hairstylist and makeup artist. I had bought her a beautiful dress as a gift, hanging in my car in a garment bag. But when I arrived at my parents' house, nobody was home. The driveway was empty. The house was dark. I used my spare key to go inside, calling out for anyone. Nothing. Then I saw it. A note on the kitchen counter, written in my mother's looping handwriting. Holly, gone to Paris for Emma's real birthday celebration. The party was just to keep you occupied. You were getting too involved in our business lately. We needed you distracted. Sorry about the confusion. Love, Mom and Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I checked my phone. A text from Dad had come through 20 minutes earlier while I was driving. In Paris with the family. Surprise trip for Emma's birthday. Don't worry about the party. My hands shook as I scrolled through social media. There they were. My entire family at the airport. Mom, Dad, Emma, my Aunt Susan and Uncle Bob, my cousins, all of them. Big smiles. Boarding passes in hand. A banner that read, Emma's Sweet 16 Paris Adventure. Comments poured in from friends and relatives. So exciting. What an amazing gift. She's so lucky. Nobody mentioned me. I sat down at the kitchen table, my mind racing. The party was in 5 hours. 200 guests were expecting to attend, vendors were setting up right now, and my family was on a plane to Paris. I thought about the past 6 months, all the time I had spent, all the effort, all the money from my own pocket. Then I thought about what the note said. You were getting too involved in our business lately. That was true. 3 months ago, I had noticed some things that worried me. My parents had bought a new car, then another one. They had renovated their kitchen. They had taken a cruise. They seemed to be spending money constantly. But I had also noticed collection notices in their mail when I visited. I had seen my mother quickly close her laptop when I walked into the room. I had heard my father on the phone with what sounded like a creditor, his voice tense and low. So I had asked questions, gently at first. Hey, Mom, are you guys doing okay financially? I noticed some bills piling up. She had brushed me off. Mind your own business, Holly. We're fine. But I pressed, because I cared, because I could see them heading toward disaster. You're being controlling, Dad had said. You're not our mother. We can handle our own finances. You're so judgmental, Mom had added. Just because you're good with money doesn't mean you get to lecture us. I had backed off. But I had still worried, and now I understood. The party planning had been a distraction, a way to keep me busy so I would stop asking questions, a way to punish me for caring. I stood up from the kitchen table and walked back to my car. I drove to the Grand Riverside Hotel. I walked into that beautiful ballroom filled with decorations I had chosen and vendors I had hired. And I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I pulled out my phone and started making calls. The caterer approached me first. Marcus was a kind man in his 50s who ran an excellent catering company. We had worked together on 2 corporate events before this. Holly, we're all set up in the kitchen, he said. Food will be ready to serve at 2:30, just like you requested. Everything looks perfect. I took a deep breath. Marcus, I need to cancel. His face fell. Cancel? The party is in 4 hours. I know. I'm so sorry. There's been a family emergency. The party isn't happening. He looked genuinely concerned. Is everyone okay? They're fine. They're in Paris, actually. The bitterness crept into my voice despite my best efforts. Marcus' expression shifted from concern to confusion. Paris, I explained briefly. He listened with growing shock. So, they planned this fake party to distract you? He asked. Apparently. He shook his head in disbelief. That's cruel, Holly. I'm really sorry. Me too. And I'm sorry about the cancellation. I know you can't refund the deposit. Actually, Marcus said slowly, your parents called me 2 weeks ago. My stomach dropped. What? They said the party was canceled. They asked for a refund on their portion of the payment. Their portion. I had paid the entire catering deposit of $3,000. They said they had paid half. They wanted $1,500 back. They seemed very insistent, said there had been a family emergency and they needed the money immediately. Did you give it to them? I did. They were very convincing. They said you knew about it. I closed my eyes. I didn't know. Oh no, Marcus said. Holly, I'm so sorry. I should have confirmed with you. It's not your fault. They lied to you. But my mind was racing. If they had done this with the caterer, had they done it with other vendors? I spent the next hour calling everyone. The florist, the DJ, the photographer, the balloon artist, the venue coordinator. Every single one told me the same story. My parents had called 1 to 2 weeks ago, claiming the party was canceled and requesting refunds on deposits they claimed to have paid. They had collected roughly $12,000. Money they had never actually paid. Money I had paid, and they had used it to fund a Paris trip. I thanked each vendor, apologized profusely, and absorbed the reality that I was losing $8,000 in deposits that couldn't be refunded at this late notice. The vendors were sympathetic but firm. Their contracts were clear. Cancellations within 2 weeks meant forfeited deposits. I sat in my car in the hotel parking lot and did the math. $8,000 gone, $12,000 stolen through fraud, 3 weeks of vacation time wasted, 6 months of my life spent planning a fake party. The humiliation burned, but beneath the humiliation was something else. Anger. Cold, focused anger. I drove to my parents' house. I still had my spare key. They had never asked for it back, probably because they sometimes needed me to water plants or collect mail when they traveled. Inside, I went straight to my father's home office. He kept important papers in a filing cabinet that he thought was secure. But I had seen the key years ago, hidden in a fake book on the shelf. I opened the cabinet and started reading. Bank statements, credit card bills, mortgage documents, tax forms. What I found made my blood run cold. My parents were drowning in debt. $90,000 across 7 credit cards, all of them maxed out. Minimum payments were barely being made, and several showed late fees. The mortgage was 3 months behind. A notice from the bank warned of foreclosure proceedings if payment wasn't received within 30 days. There were collection letters from medical providers, utility companies, and a furniture store. My father's income showed he was making about $75,000 a year. Decent, but not extravagant. My mother's real estate income was sporadic. Some months she made good commissions. Other months, nothing. But their spending was astronomical. New cars, kitchen renovation, furniture, clothes, vacations. They were living like they made $200,000 a year. Then I found something that made my hands shake. Loan documents, from 3 different lenders, and my name was on them. I was listed as a co-signer, but I had never signed these documents. I had never even seen them before. I looked closer. The signatures were forged. Someone had copied my signature from old paperwork, probably from when I was 18 and my parents had me sign forms for insurance or medical purposes. These loans totaled $45,000. And because my name was on them as a co-signer, my credit was tied to them. I checked the payment status. 2 of the 3 loans were in default. My credit was being destroyed. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of everything. Every document, every statement, every forged signature. Then, I kept digging. I found Emma's laptop on the kitchen counter. She rarely password protected it because she was careless about security. I opened it and went straight to her messages. What I found confirmed my worst suspicions. A group chat between Emma, my mother, and my father from 3 months ago. Emma. She's asking questions about money again. So annoying. Dad, don't worry. We have a plan. Mom. We're going to ask her to plan your sweet 16 party. That'll keep her busy for months. Emma. LOL, seriously? She'll totally do it too. She loves organizing stuff. Dad. Exactly. And while she's distracted with party planning, she'll stop nosing around our finances. Emma. This is genius. Can we actually go to Paris instead? Mom. Already looking at flights. Well, tell her the day of the party. Imagine her face. Emma. Oh my God, this is hilarious. She totally believes we care about my party. Dad, she's so gullible, always trying to fix everything. This will teach her to mind her own business. The messages went on. They had planned this for months. The cruelty was intentional, calculated. They had laughed about it. Emma, at 15, had participated willingly. She had known all along that the party was fake, that I was being used. I sat at the kitchen table, reading message after message, and felt something inside me harden. These people had lied to me, stolen from me, humiliated me, destroyed my credit, and laughed about it. My family. I took pictures of the messages. Then I carefully put everything back exactly as I had found it. I locked up the house and drove home to my apartment. I didn't cry. I didn't break down. Instead, I opened my laptop and started making a list. That night, I barely slept. My mind was working through possibilities, consequences, next steps. By the time the sun rose on Sunday morning, I had a plan. First, I called Rachel. She had been my college roommate and was now a lawyer specializing in financial fraud and family law. We had stayed close over the years, meeting for coffee monthly and texting regularly. "Holly, how was the party?" she answered cheerfully. "There was no party. Can I come over? I need legal advice." Her tone shifted immediately. "Come now. I'll make coffee." An hour later, I sat in Rachel's cozy living room, showing her everything on my phone, the forged loan documents, the text messages, the vendor fraud, the complete picture of betrayal. Rachel's face grew darker as she scrolled through the evidence. "This is serious, Holly," she said finally. "This isn't just family drama. This is identity theft, fraud, forgery. These are crimes. Can I do anything about it?" "Absolutely. You can file police reports. You can dispute the fraudulent accounts with credit bureaus. You can sue them civilly to recover your losses." She paused. "But these are your parents. Are you sure you want to go that far?" I thought about the messages, the laughter, the calculated cruelty. "Yes," I said. "I'm sure." Rachel nodded. "Okay, let's do this right. First, we document everything before they get back from Paris and have a chance to destroy evidence. You've already taken photos, which is good, but we need to secure your financial position immediately." Over the next few hours, Rachel walked me through the steps. We filed a police report for identity theft. The officer who took my statement was sympathetic but warned me that prosecuting family members was complicated. I told him I understood but wanted everything documented. We contacted the 3 credit bureaus and placed fraud alerts on my credit. We disputed the fraudulent loan accounts, providing evidence of the forged signatures. We contacted the banks and lenders directly, informing them of the fraud and providing my police report number. Rachel drafted legal notices to be served to my parents upon their return, informing them of the fraud claims and my intention to pursue civil litigation. "Now," Rachel said, "let's talk about your losses beyond the identity theft." I pulled out another list I had made. Over the past 5 years, I had given my parents money. Lots of money. At the time, I had thought I was being helpful, a good daughter, supporting family in times of need, but now I saw it differently. 5 years ago, I had paid for my parents' 20th anniversary cruise. $4,000. They had said they would pay me back within 6 months. They never did. 4 years ago, my mother's car had broken down beyond repair. I had bought her a replacement, $15,000. The title was in her name, but I had paid for it entirely. They had promised to reimburse me gradually. They never did. 3 years ago, their roof needed replacement, $22,000. I had paid the contractor directly because they said their credit cards were maxed and they were waiting for a big commission from my mother's real estate sales. That commission never materialized, and I was never repaid. For the past 2 years, I had paid Emma's private school tuition, $36,000 total. They had said public school wasn't good enough for Emma, and they needed help temporarily until they got back on their feet financially. And there were smaller amounts. Emergency loans of $500 here, $1,000 there. Help with medical bills, car repairs, all adding up to roughly $10,000. Total, $87,000. "Do you have documentation?" Rachel asked. I did. Bank transfers for most of it, text messages confirming the loans, emails discussing repayment plans that never happened, receipts for the larger expenses. "This is recoverable," Rachel said. They promised to pay you back. That makes these loans, not gifts. You have written evidence of that. We can sue for repayment. How much will this cost me? I'll do it for a reduced rate because we're friends. And honestly, Holly, this case is so clear-cut that we'll probably settle before trial. Once they see the evidence, they'll have to negotiate. I thought about the $8,000 in party deposits I had lost. Add that to the total, too. I paid for a party they deliberately sabotaged. Rachel nodded. $95,000. Well, sue for that plus legal fees and court costs. Then I remembered something else. My car. What about it? 3 months ago, my parents asked to borrow it. They said theirs was in the shop and they needed it for a few days. I gave them the key and my title because they said they needed it for insurance purposes. They still have both. Rachel's eyes widened. Please tell me they didn't. I pulled up my bank app and checked for any unusual activity. Nothing there. But I logged into my state's DMV website and checked my vehicle registration. There it was. A lien against my car. $50,000. They took out a loan using your car as collateral, Rachel said, reading over my shoulder. Can they do that? Not legally, no. The car is in your name. But if they had the title and forged your signature, a lender might not have verified carefully. She scrolled down. And look at this. They're 3 payments behind. The car is about to be repossessed. My car. My reliable Honda Civic that I had bought myself 3 years ago and paid off in full. They had put it at risk. Add this to the police report, Rachel said grimly. This is another count of fraud. By Sunday evening, we had filed all the necessary paperwork. Fraud alerts were in place. Police reports were filed. Credit disputes were submitted. Legal notices were prepared. Now what? I asked. Now we wait for them to come home, Rachel said, and we let the consequences unfold. I spent Sunday night at my apartment, going through my belongings. I realized how much of my stuff was still at my parents' house. Childhood photos, yearbooks, my grandmother's jewelry that she had left to me when she died, awards and mementos from high school and college, furniture I had stored in their garage. Monday morning, I called in sick to work. Then I drove to my parents' house with my spare key. I spent 6 hours packing. Everything that was mine, everything that had value to me. I loaded it all into a rental truck. The jewelry went into a safety deposit box at my bank. The photos and mementos went into storage. The furniture went to my apartment or into a storage unit. By Monday evening, I had removed every trace of myself from their house. Except for one thing. I left a note on the kitchen counter, took everything that belongs to me. You'll be hearing from my lawyer, Holly. Then I returned the spare key by dropping it through the mail slot. I was done. My parents returned from Paris on Sunday evening, a full week after the party that never happened. I know because Emma posted approximately 63 photos across Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. The Eiffel Tower, fancy restaurants, designer shopping bags from boutiques on the Champs-Élysées, macarons from Lagerie, a river cruise on the Seine. Emma's captions were nauseating. Best sweet 16 ever. My parents are literally the best, living my best life in Paris. Comments poured in from her friends. Oh my God, so jealous. You're so lucky. Can I be you? I scrolled through every photo with detached interest. My parents looked happy, relaxed. No guilt visible on their smiling faces as they posed in front of the Louvre. I went to work Monday morning as usual. My colleagues asked about the party. I smiled and said it had been lovely. Thank you for asking. I wasn't ready to explain the truth yet. That would come later. Around 10 in the morning, my phone rang. Mom? I let it go to voicemail. She called again at 10:15, then 10:30. Finally, at 10:45, I answered. Holly, honey, we're back. Her voice was bright and cheerful, like nothing had happened. Welcome home, I said neutrally. Listen, I know you must have been disappointed about the party situation. That was probably confusing for you. Confusing, not hurtful, not cruel, confusing. It was definitely something, I said. Well, make it up to you. Let's all have dinner this weekend. We can do something small for Emma then. You can still celebrate with her. Something small. After she had Paris. That's okay, Mom. I've been busy with my own things. Oh, good. I'm so glad you're not upset. You know how you can be sometimes. So sensitive. I gripped my phone tighter. Sure, Mom. Wonderful. I'll let you go then. Love you, sweetie. She hung up before I could respond. I stared at my phone. She actually thought everything was fine. She thought I would just accept what they had done and move on. Tuesday, my father called around noon. Holly, I need to ask you something. What's that, Dad? We need to borrow $3,000. There's an emergency with the house. Water heater broke. We need it replaced immediately. I almost laughed. They just got back from Paris, where they spent thousands of dollars, and now they needed an emergency loan. I can't help you with that, I said. Silence. Then, what do you mean you can't help? I mean, I don't have $3,000 to lend you right now. Since when? You always have money saved. You're so good with money, Holly. He said it like an accusation. My circumstances have changed. What circumstances? You have a good job. No kids. No mortgage. You can afford to help your family. No, Dad, I can't. His voice hardened. After everything we've done for you, we raised you, fed you, gave you a home, paid for your education. You did raise me. That's what parents do. It doesn't mean I owe you money for the rest of my life. That's a selfish attitude, Holly. Really disappointing. I have to go, Dad. I'm at work. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from anger, and from satisfaction. Because I knew what was coming. Wednesday morning, the first domino fell. My father called at 7:30 in the morning, before I had even left for work. What did you do? He shouted into the phone. Good morning, Dad. Don't good morning me. Our bank accounts are frozen. We can't access any of our money. That's terrible, I said calmly. Did you report us for something? I reported identity theft and fraud to the police and to the banks. Yes. Silence. Then, identity theft? What are you talking about? The 3 loans you took out in my name without my permission. The forged signatures. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? We were going to tell you about those. We needed help, and we knew you would say yes eventually. That's not how consent works, Dad. You forged my signature. That's a crime. We're your parents. You can't report your own parents to the police. I can, and I did. You'll be receiving official notice of my fraud claims, and a lawsuit for the $95,000 you owe me. $95,000? Are you insane? Every penny I've given you over 5 years. I have documentation, text messages where you promised to pay me back, bank records, receipts. You owe me, and I want it back. Those were gifts. No, they were loans. You said so yourself in writing. See you in court, Dad. I hung up. He called back immediately. I didn't answer. Wednesday afternoon, more dominoes fell. My mother called, crying. Holly, please. The credit card companies are calling. They say our accounts are under investigation. We can't use our cards. We have less than $800 in cash. How are we supposed to pay our bills? You should have thought about that before you committed fraud. We didn't commit fraud. We're your family. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't forge signatures. Family doesn't humiliate each other for fun. The party was just a joke. We didn't mean to hurt you. You spent 6 months lying to me. You stole $12,000 from vendors by pretending to be me. You laughed about how gullible I was. That's not a joke, Mom. That's cruelty. Well, pay you back. Just drop the charges. No. Holly, please. Well, lose the house. Our credit is already terrible. This will destroy us. You destroyed yourselves. I'm just making sure you face the consequences. She sobbed into the phone. How can you be so heartless? I learned from the best, I said and hung up. Thursday afternoon, my phone exploded. 20 calls in 1 hour. My parents, Emma, my Aunt Susan, Uncle Bob, my cousin Jake. They had clearly been told to pressure me. Aunt Susan left a voicemail. Holly, I don't know what's going on, but family doesn't do this to family. Whatever your parents did, I'm sure they didn't mean any harm. You need to forgive them and move on. This is so vindictive, Uncle Bob texted. Your parents are devastated. They made a mistake. You're overreacting. Call them and work this out, Cousin Jake called. Dude, Holly, this is crazy. They're your parents. Yeah, they messed up, but suing them? That's harsh. I ignored all of them. Finally, I sent one text to the family group chat. I'm busy right now. Thursday evening, my father showed up at my apartment. I looked through the peephole and saw him standing there, red-faced and furious. I opened the door but kept the chain lock engaged. "We need to talk," he said. "I don't think we do. Did you report us for fraud?" "Yes." "Are you suing us?" "Yes." His face turned purple. "You ungrateful, selfish, vindictive little." "Careful, Dad. I'm recording this conversation." I held up my phone. He stopped mid-sentence. "You forged my signature," I said calmly. "You stole from me. You destroyed my credit. You humiliated me. And you laughed about it. Those are facts. We're family. We needed help. You didn't ask for help. You stole. There's a difference." My mother's car pulled up behind his. She rushed toward my door. "Holly, please! Let us in! We can talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about." Emma climbed out of the back seat. She looked scared. "Good. Holly, I'm sorry," Emma said quietly. "I didn't think it would go this far. You thought it was hilarious when you were texting about it. Remember?" Her face went pale. "You saw those." "I saw everything." My mother tried to reach through the gap in the door. "Holly, we'll pay you back. We promise. Just drop the charges and the lawsuit." I pulled a folded paper from my pocket and passed it through the gap. "This is an itemized list of every dollar I've given you over 5 years. $87,000 for the loans, $8,000 for the party deposits I lost because of your fraud. Total, $95,000. My father grabbed it and read it, his eyes widening. "You can't be serious," he said. "Every penny is documented. Bank transfers, text messages where you promised to repay me, emails, receipts. I have evidence of all of it. Those were gifts," he shouted. "Really? Because your text from 3 years ago says, and I quote, 'Thank you for the loan for the roof. Well, pay you back as soon as the house sells.' The house never sold. You never paid me back. That's not a gift, Dad. That's a loan." My mother was crying openly now. "We don't have $95,000. "Well, never have that much. That's not my problem. You should have thought about that before you spent money you didn't have and stole from me to cover your lifestyle." "What do you want from us?" my father demanded. I looked at all 3 of them, my parents, desperate and angry, Emma, young and scared. "I want justice," I said. "I want every penny back. I want you to face consequences for your actions. And I want you to understand that I'm not your personal ATM or your punching bag anymore." "You're destroying this family," my mother wailed. "No, Mom, you destroyed it. I'm just not pretending anymore that everything is fine." I closed the door. They pounded on it for another 5 minutes, shouting, pleading, threatening. I sat on my couch and waited until they left. Then I called Rachel. They showed up. I said, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "They're panicking." "Good. That means they understand the seriousness of this. I've filed the civil suit. They'll be served tomorrow. Court date is set for 3 weeks from now." "What are my chances?" "Honestly, excellent. The evidence is overwhelming. They'll probably try to settle before we get to trial. No lawyer would advise them to take this to court. And the criminal charges, those are up to the prosecutor. But with the police reports and evidence, there's a strong case for fraud and identity theft. They'll likely face probation and mandatory financial counseling at minimum." "Good. Holly, are you sure about this?" "Once we go down this road, there's no going back." I thought about the empty ballroom, the laughing emojis, the messages calling me gullible. "I'm sure," I said. Friday morning, a process server delivered legal documents to my parents' house. Rachel texted me when it was confirmed. "They've been served. The clock is ticking." My phone rang within 10 minutes. I didn't answer. It rang 20 more times over the next hour. I was at work, sitting in a meeting about Q4 marketing strategy, and my phone kept buzzing. Jennifer, my boss, gave me a concerned look. "Sorry," I mouthed and silenced it completely. After the meeting, I checked my messages. 15 voicemails, 30 texts, messages from my parents, Emma, and various relatives. The texts from my parents were a mix of rage and desperation. "Dad, you're actually suing us? Your own parents? This is insane. Dad, no judge will side with you against your family. Dad, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. Mom, please call me. We need to talk about this. There has to be another way. Mom, Holly, I'm begging you. Don't do this. Mom, we can't afford a lawyer. We can't fight this. You're ruining us. Emma's messages were different. Emma, I'm really sorry. I didn't understand how bad this was. Emma, Mom and Dad are freaking out. They're fighting all the time. Emma, can we please talk? I deleted them all without responding. My Aunt Susan called. I answered this time. Holly, what is going on? Your mother called me sobbing. She says you're suing them. I am. Over what? They stole $95,000 from me over 5 years. They committed identity theft and fraud. I have documentation of everything. Silence. Then, $95,000. Every penny, documented. I didn't know it was that much. Most people don't. Because I never complained. I just kept helping and hoping they'd eventually do the right thing. They didn't. But Holly, they're your parents. Surely you can work this out without lawyers and courts. They had years to work it out. They chose to laugh at me instead. More silence. Your mother mentioned something about a party. I explained the whole thing. The 6 months of planning. The fake party. The Paris trip. The messages mocking me. When I finished, Aunt Susan was quiet for a long moment. That's really cruel, she finally said. Yes, it is. I had no idea they were capable of something like that. Neither did I. What happens now? We go to court. They pay me back. They face consequences for fraud, and I move on with my life. Your mother is beside herself. She says they can't afford to pay you back. They should have thought of that before they stole from me. Aunt Susan sighed. I don't know what to say, Holly. This is such a mess. It is. But I didn't create it. She hung up after promising to stay out of it. Friday evening, my father showed up at my workplace. Jennifer called my extension. Holly, there's a man in the lobby saying he's your father. He's asking to see you. He seems agitated. My stomach tightened. Tell security not to let him up. I'll be right down. I met him in the lobby with 2 security guards present. He looked terrible. Unshaved, red eyes, rumpled clothes. We need to talk, he said. Not here. Not now. When? Then? You won't answer your phone? You won't come to the house? I have nothing to say to you. Holly, please. Let's just talk about this reasonably. We can work something out. You mean you want me to drop the lawsuit and the charges? We can set up a payment plan. We'll pay you back. Just give us time. You had 5 years. You chose to spend money on trips and cars and renovations instead of paying me back. We made mistakes. We're sorry. Are you sorry you did it? Or sorry you got caught? He flinched. That's what I thought. I said, you need to leave now, or I'll have security escort you out. You're my daughter, and you're a thief. Leave. The security guards stepped forward. My father left, shouting that I would regret this. I went back to my desk and submitted a formal request for a restraining order. The weekend was quiet. No calls, no visits. I spent Saturday cleaning my apartment and reviewing documents with Rachel. Sunday, I went for a long hike and tried to clear my head. Monday, 2 weeks before the court date, my mother left a voicemail that actually sounded different. Holly, it's Mom. I know you don't want to talk to us right now, and I understand why. I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened. About the things we did. I want you to know that I'm starting to see how wrong we were. Your father and I are going to counseling. We're trying to understand why we thought any of this was okay. I'm not asking you to drop the lawsuit. I just wanted you to know that we're trying to change. I love you. I listened to it 3 times. It sounded sincere, but I had believed they were sincere before, too. I saved the voicemail but didn't call back. Tuesday, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered cautiously. Is this Holly? Yes. Who is this? My name is Patricia. I'm your father's older sister. I sat up straight. I had never met Patricia. There had been some kind of family falling out before I was born. My father never talked about her. Okay, I said carefully. I heard about what's happening with your parents. Your Aunt Susan told me. I see. I wanted to tell you something. Something you should know. She paused. Your father did the same thing to my husband and me about 10 years ago. My breath caught. He borrowed $30,000 from us. Patricia continued. Said it was an emergency, promised to pay us back within a year. He never did. When we pressed him about it, he got angry, said we were being greedy and unsupportive. We eventually hired a lawyer and sued. We won, but he never paid the judgment. We gave up trying to collect after a few years, and he cut us out of his life completely, told everyone we were the problem. I'm so sorry, I said. Don't be sorry. I'm calling to tell you that you're doing the right thing. Your father has a pattern. He uses people, takes advantage of their love and trust, and he never faces real consequences because family keeps letting him get away with it. Did you know about what they did to me? The party, Susan told me. It's despicable, but it doesn't surprise me. Your father has always been manipulative, and your mother enables him. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. What they did to you is part of a long pattern of behavior, and if you don't hold them accountable now, they'll keep doing it. To you, to Emma, to whoever else they can manipulate. Tears stung my eyes. Thank you for telling me. Stand your ground, Holly. Don't let them guilt you or gaslight you. You deserve better than this. After we hung up, I sat in my quiet apartment and cried. Not from sadness. Exactly. From relief. Someone understood. Someone validated that this wasn't normal, wasn't okay, wasn't my fault. The court date arrived on a cold Wednesday morning in early March. I dressed in my most professional outfit. Navy suit, white blouse, conservative heels. I wanted to look credible and serious. Rachel met me at the courthouse. Ready, as he'll ever be. They've hired a lawyer, Robert Chen. He's decent, but he knows this is a losing case. He'll probably try to negotiate a settlement. I'm not interested in settling for less than the full amount. Understood. We walked into the courtroom. My parents were already there with their lawyer, a tired-looking man in his 50s. They both looked older than I remembered, worn down. Emma wasn't there. She was in school. The hearing was straightforward. Rachel presented our evidence, bank statements showing my transfers to them, text messages and emails where they acknowledged the loans and promised repayment, receipts for the major expenses I had covered, documentation of the forged signatures on the loan documents. My parents' lawyer tried to argue that some of the money had been gifts, not loans, but Rachel countered with the written communications, proving they were loans. He tried to argue that I had given the money willingly. Rachel pointed out that willingness doesn't erase debt, and the promises to repay created a legal obligation. He tried to argue that my parents couldn't afford to pay. The judge said that was what payment plans were for. The whole thing took less than 2 hours. The judge reviewed the evidence, asked a few clarifying questions, and then rendered her decision. I find in favor of the plaintiff. The defendants owe the plaintiff $95,000 to be paid at a rate of $2,000 per month until the debt is satisfied in full. Failure to make payments will result in wage garnishment. Additionally, the defendants are ordered to refinance their home to remove the plaintiff's name from any and all documentation where it appears without her consent. Court costs and reasonable attorney fees shall be paid by the defendants. The gavel came down. My father sat there, stunned. My mother put her face in her hands. Their lawyer looked relieved it was over. Rachel shook my hand. Congratulations, you won. But it didn't feel like winning. Not yet. Outside the courthouse, my parents approached me. Holly, please, my mother said. $2,000 a month? We can't afford that. The court will garnish your wages. I said. You don't have a choice. Well, lose the house, my father said. You were already going to lose the house. The foreclosure notice was sitting on your desk 3 weeks ago. They both looked shocked that I knew. You went through our things, my father asked. I used my key to retrieve my belongings. And yes, I saw everything. The debt, the bills, the mess you've created. What are we supposed to do? My mother asked. You're supposed to face the consequences of your choices. Downsize, budget, live within your means. Maybe get the financial counseling the court will require as part of the criminal case. Criminal case. My father's voice rose. What criminal case? The prosecutor is moving forward with fraud and identity theft charges. You'll be notified. My mother started crying again. You're destroying us. No, Mom, you destroyed yourselves. I'm just refusing to go down with you anymore. I walked away. Rachel drove me back to my office. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Hollow," I admitted, "but also free. That's normal. You did the right thing, Holly. Don't let them make you doubt that." That evening, I received a text from Emma. "I heard about court. I'm sorry this is happening. I know it's my fault too. I should have told you about Paris. I should have said something. I was selfish and mean and am really, really sorry." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, "You're 15, Emma. Old enough to know right from wrong. What you did was hurtful. But you're also young enough to learn from this. I hope you do," she wrote back immediately. "I'm trying. I got a job at the coffee shop near school. I'm going to help Mom and Dad pay you back. It's only part-time, so it won't be much, but I want to help fix this." Something in my chest loosened slightly. "That's good, Emma. I'm glad you're taking responsibility. Are you ever going to forgive us?" I thought about that. I don't know. Maybe someday. But trust takes time to rebuild, and I need to see real change, not just words. "I understand. I'll try to be better. I promise." I didn't respond to that. Promises from my family didn't mean much anymore, but it was a start. 3 weeks after the court decision, the criminal case moved forward. The district attorney's office had reviewed the evidence and decided to prosecute for fraud and identity theft. My parents were offered a plea deal: probation, community service, mandatory financial counseling, and restitution. If they accepted, they would avoid jail time. They accepted. The formal sentencing hearing was brief. The judge was stern. "You took advantage of your daughter's trust and love," she said. "You committed serious crimes for financial gain. You showed no remorse until you were caught. This behavior is unacceptable." My father looked at the floor. My mother cried quietly. "You will serve 2 years of probation. You will complete 200 hours of community service each. You will attend financial counseling weekly for 1 year. And you will make restitution payments as ordered by the civil court. If you violate any terms of your probation, you will serve jail time. Do you understand?" They both nodded. "I hope you use this time to reflect on your choices and to rebuild your relationship with your daughter, if she chooses to allow it." The gavel came down again. As they left the courtroom, my father finally looked at me. "Are you happy now?" he asked bitterly. "No, Dad. I'm not happy. But I'm at peace with my decision." He shook his head and walked away. My mother lingered for a moment. "I really am sorry, Holly. I know you don't believe me. But I am." "Then prove it," I said. "Make the payments. Go to counseling. Actually change." "I will," she said quietly. Over the following months, I watched from a distance as my parents' lives transformed. They sold their house. They had no choice. The foreclosure was imminent, and they couldn't afford the mortgage even with both of them working. They moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. Emma had to share a bedroom with a makeshift divider for privacy. They sold one of their cars, downsized to one modest vehicle. My mother took on extra real estate clients, working evenings and weekends. My father picked up a second job on weekends at a hardware store. Emma transferred to public school. She told me later that it was actually better than her private school. More diverse, more real. The $2,000 monthly payments came like clockwork. The court had set up automatic wage garnishment, so I didn't have to chase them for money. I put every payment into a high-yield savings account. I wasn't spending it. I was just holding it, watching the number grow, proof that consequences were real. During this time, extended family members reached out to me, some apologetically. My grandmother, my father's mother, called me in tears. "Holly, I had no idea what they had done to you. If I had known, I would have stopped it." "I know, Grandma. I've cut off the financial support I was giving them. I told them they needed to stand on their own 2 feet. That's probably for the best. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. I just wish it hadn't come to this." "Me too." Aunt Susan called to apologize. "I shouldn't have judged you without knowing the full story. What they did was inexcusable." Uncle Bob sent a long email expressing support and offering to testify to my character if I ever needed it. Cousin Jake texted, "You were right." I talked to Aunt Patricia. "I didn't know Dad had family history with this kind of thing. I'm sorry I called you harsh." But not everyone was supportive. My mother's sister, Aunt Linda, left a vicious voicemail calling me ungrateful and cruel. I blocked her number. A few distant cousins posted vague comments on social media about family betrayal and blood being thicker than water. I unfollowed them. I learned an important lesson during those months. Not everyone would understand my choices, and that was okay. I didn't need universal approval. I needed peace, and slowly, I was finding it. My own life improved in unexpected ways. At work, I received a promotion to senior marketing director. Jennifer told me I had shown exceptional resilience and professionalism during a difficult personal time, and the leadership team had noticed. I started dating someone I met through a friend. His name was Marcus, coincidentally the same name as my caterer friend. He was a software engineer, kind and stable and honest. When I told him about my family situation, he didn't judge me. He just listened and said, "You did what you had to do." That meant everything. I started therapy to process the betrayal and to learn healthier boundaries. My therapist helped me understand that what my parents had done was a form of financial abuse, and that standing up to it was an act of self-preservation, not cruelty. I reconnected with friends I had neglected while I was consumed with party planning and family drama. We had dinners and game nights and long conversations that had nothing to do with lawsuits or betrayal. I felt lighter, freer, like I had been carrying a heavy weight for years and had finally set it down. 6 months after the court decision, Emma asked if we could meet for coffee. I agreed, curious. She showed up looking more mature than I remembered. At 16 now, she had traded her designer clothes for thrifted jeans and simple t-shirts. Her hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail. "Thanks for meeting me," she said as we sat down. "Of course. I wanted to tell you what's been happening. With me. Okay. I got a job at a coffee shop. I work 15 hours a week after school and on weekends. It doesn't pay much, but I'm saving everything I can. That's good, Emma. And I've been going to therapy. Mom and Dad's counselor recommended someone for me. She's helping me understand why I thought what we did to you was okay." I sipped my coffee, waiting. I think I was just so used to getting everything I wanted that I didn't think about other people's feelings. Like, Mom and Dad always gave me stuff and took me places, and I just assumed that was normal. I didn't think about where the money came from or who was actually paying for it. "You were young," I said carefully. "I was old enough to know better. I knew it was mean to laugh about you planning a fake party. I knew it was wrong to go to Paris and not tell you. I just didn't care because it benefited me." Her honesty was surprising. "I'm glad you're recognizing that," I said. "I want to pay you back too. I know I can't pay much, but I've been giving Mom and Dad $100 every month to add to their payment to you. It's not a lot, but it's what I can do." I felt my throat tighten. "You don't have to do that, Emma." "Yes, I do. I was part of what happened. I should be part of making it right." We talked for another hour. She told me about her new school, her friends, her plans to go to community college instead of the expensive university my parents had promised her. "I think it'll be good for me," she said, "to work for things instead of having them handed to me." Before we parted, she hugged me. "I miss you, Holly. I miss having a sister." "I'm still your sister," I said. "But things are different now." "I know, and I'm going to prove I can be better, even if it takes a long time." I watched her walk away and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Not that everything would magically be fixed, but that real change might be possible. 1 year after the court decision, my mother asked if we could meet. I agreed to coffee at a neutral location. She looked different. Older, yes, but also calmer, less of the manic energy she used to have. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," she said. "You're welcome. I wanted to tell you that I understand now. Why you did what you did." I waited. The counseling has been hard, really hard, because it's made me face things about myself that I didn't want to see, about how I treated you, about how I treated money, about how I let your father and I create this toxic pattern. She took a breath. We were living beyond our means for years, trying to keep up with people who had more money than us, trying to look successful even when we were drowning in debt. And instead of facing it, we just kept spending and borrowing and using people who loved us. "Why did you do it?" I asked. Fear, I think. Fear of admitting we had failed. Fear of looking poor or unsuccessful. Fear of being ordinary. She looked down at her hands. And it's a pattern I learned from my own parents. They did the same thing. always spending money they didn't have to impress people who didn't care. That doesn't excuse what you did to me. I know. Nothing excuses it. But understanding why I did it helps me make sure I never do it again. She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. I'm truly sorry, Holly. Not sorry I got caught. Sorry for what I did. Sorry for using you. Sorry for laughing at you. Sorry for teaching Emma that it was okay to treat people that way. Just sorry. I felt my own eyes well up. I appreciate you saying that, I said quietly. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. Or maybe ever. But I want you to know that I'm trying to be different. We've paid you back $24,000 so far. We have $71,000 left to go. And well, keep paying until it's done. We're living within our means now. We're budgeting. We're being honest with each other and with Emma about money. That's good. And I wonder if someday, maybe after we've paid you back and proven ourselves, if you might be willing to try to rebuild a relationship with us. Not the old relationship where we used you. A new one, with boundaries and respect. I thought about that. Maybe, I said. I need to see consistent change over time. Not just words, actions. I understand. That's fair. We talked for another half hour. She told me about her therapy, her job, her new perspective on life. Before we parted, she asked, "How are you doing?" "Really? I'm doing well," I said honestly. I got promoted at work. I'm seeing someone. I have good friends. I'm happy. She smiled, and it looked genuine. I'm glad. You deserve to be happy. So do you, Mom. But happiness based on honesty, not lies. I'm learning that, she said. 2 years after that empty ballroom, I stood in my new home, a beautiful condo I had purchased with money I had saved carefully and responsibly. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Sunlight streamed across hardwood floors. Everything was mine, bought with my own money, no strings attached. It was Thanksgiving, and I was hosting dinner for the first time. My grandmother arrived first, carrying her famous pumpkin pie. At 78, she was still sharp and loving, and she had become one of my biggest supporters through everything. "The place looks wonderful, sweetheart," she said, hugging me. Rachel and her husband came next, bringing wine and stories from their recent vacation. Marcus arrived with his signature green bean casserole, kissing me hello and immediately helping in the kitchen like he lived there, which he basically did at this point. My cousin Jake and his wife came, along with Aunt Susan and Uncle Bob. We set the table together, laughing and talking, and I felt surrounded by people who genuinely cared about me, people who didn't use me or manipulate me, people who respected boundaries and valued honesty. As we sat down to eat, I looked around the table and felt overwhelming gratitude. Before we ate, Grandma said, "I'd like us to share what we're thankful for this year." We went around the table. Health, family, new jobs, grandchildren on the way. When it was my turn, I said, "I'm thankful for the hard lessons that taught me my worth. I'm thankful for the people who stood by me when things were difficult. And I'm thankful for second chances and new beginnings." Everyone raised their glasses. After dinner, as we cleaned up, Rachel pulled me aside. "I have news," she said. "Your parents made their final payment this morning. The debt is paid in full." I stopped washing the dish in my hand. All of it. All $95,000, plus court costs and legal fees. It's done. 2 years of monthly payments. 2 years of wage garnishments and budgeting and sacrifice on their part. But they had done it. "How do you feel?" Rachel asked. "Relieved," I said. And honestly, proud of them for following through. Later that evening, after the guests had left, I sat on my couch with Marcus and looked at my phone. I had received a text from Emma earlier. "Happy Thanksgiving, Holly. I'm grateful for you, even if we don't see each other much. Love you." And one from my mother, "We made the final payment today. I know it doesn't undo what we did, but I hope it shows we're serious about making amends. I hope you have a beautiful Thanksgiving. With love, Mom," I showed Marcus. Should I respond? What does your gut say? I thought about the past 2 years. The payments that came every month without fail. Emma's job and her $100 contributions. My mother's therapy and genuine apologies. My father's second job and slowly improving attitude. Change had been slow but real. I typed a response. "Thank you for following through on the payments. I appreciate the accountability. I hope you both have a good Thanksgiving." Maybe we can meet for coffee next month. Small steps. I sent it before I could second guess myself. My mother responded immediately. We would love that. Thank you for giving us a chance. The next morning, I sat at my desk and wrote in my journal, something my therapist had encouraged me to do. I wrote about the journey, about the betrayal that had broken me open, about the strength I didn't know I had, about the boundaries I learned to set, about the peace I had found, and I wrote the life lessons I had learned. I learned that loving someone doesn't mean letting them hurt you. Love without respect is not real love. It's just obligation and guilt. I discovered that setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's necessary for healthy relationships. People who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. People who don't respect them are showing you who they really are. I realized that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone face the consequences of their choices. Rescuing people from consequences doesn't help them grow. It just enables them to keep making the same mistakes. I found out that I'm stronger than I thought. I survived betrayal by the people who were supposed to protect me. I stood up for myself when it would have been easier to stay quiet. I chose my well-being over people-pleasing. Most importantly, I learned that real family doesn't manipulate and use you. Real family respects you, values you, and treats you with dignity. And if your biological family can't do that, you have every right to create your own family from people who can. That empty banquet hall 2 years ago had felt like the worst moment of my life. Standing there surrounded by decorations for a party that would never happen. Looking at photos of my family in Paris. Reading text messages that called me gullible. But now I understood that it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me. It showed me the truth. And the truth, as painful as it was, set me free. Free from toxic obligations, free from financial abuse, free from the belief that I had to accept mistreatment because we shared DNA. I was free to build a life based on honesty, respect, and genuine love. And that life was beautiful. 6 months later, I did start having monthly coffee meetings with my mother. They were awkward at first. We kept conversations light, weather, work, neutral topics. But slowly, carefully, we began to rebuild something. Not the old relationship, that was gone forever, but something new. Something based on clear boundaries and mutual respect. My father took longer. His pride was deeply wounded, and he struggled to admit he had been wrong. But eventually, he started joining the coffee meetings. He apologized, stiffly and uncomfortably at first, but more genuinely as time went on. Emma and I grew closer. She was 17 now, working part-time, getting good grades, planning for community college. She had learned the value of hard work and the importance of integrity. We weren't a perfect family. We had scars and awkward moments and topics we avoided. But we were honest, and we were trying, and that was enough. 1 year later, Marcus proposed. We got married in a small ceremony with people who truly loved us. My parents and Emma were there. We had talked about whether to invite them. In the end, I decided that they had earned a place at my wedding through their consistent efforts to change. When my father walked over during the reception, I tensed slightly. "I'm proud of you, Holly," he said quietly. "You built a good life. You found someone who treats you right. You deserve all of this. Thank you, Dad. And I'm sorry it took me so long to see how badly I treated you. You were right to stand up to us. It was the wake-up call we needed." I felt tears prick my eyes. "I appreciate you saying that." He hugged me, and for the first time in years, it felt genuine. As I danced with Marcus later that evening, I looked around at my wedding, my chosen family and my biological family, coexisting peacefully. Everyone who was there had earned their place through love and respect. "What are you thinking about?" Marcus asked. "How far I've come," I said, "from that empty ballroom to here." "That empty ballroom was the beginning of your real life," he said. He was right. Sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the best transformations. Sometimes losing everything shows you what really matters. Sometimes standing up for yourself is the most loving thing you can do, both for yourself and for the people who hurt you, because real love requires honesty, real family requires respect, and real peace requires boundaries. I had learned all of that the hard way, but I had learned it, and now I was free. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where family or close friends took advantage of your kindness? How did you handle it? Did you set boundaries, or did you stay silent to keep the peace? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It really helps me continue sharing these stories. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future stories about resilience, boundaries, and personal growth. Share this story with anyone who might need to hear it. Someone who's struggling with toxic family dynamics or who needs encouragement to stand up for themselves. Your share could be exactly what they need today. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it gave you something to think about and maybe even some courage to set your own boundaries when you need to. Remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary, and you deserve relationships built on respect, not obligation. Take care of yourselves out there. Until next time.